Good evening and welcome to this formation session on the theme Gift of the Family in preparation for the Sacred Heart Feast of the parish. I am Brother Raj, connecting with you from Montfort Boys Town, a brother of Montfort Brothers of St. Gabriel. Well, COVID-19 enabled us to get back to our families. We were together for the past almost 2.5 months in our own families. And the theme for today, our reflection, gift of family. Gift is something is given and received. None of us have chosen our own family. None of us have chosen our parents. None of us have chosen our siblings, and so on and so on. Therefore, the giver of this gift of family, gift of life to each one of us, it is not our preference, but it is chosen for us. So the giver seemed to have found it is important, this precious gift of family. Therefore, he has made that choice for us. And we, today, in reflecting, would like to discover our role, our place in this family. Family, like if we refer to as a gift, it has to be unwrapped. As you know, birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, and all kind of gifts that we now and then receive. But they come nicely packed, and sometimes it is more attractive, the package, than the gift itself. But in our case, each one of us very comfortably and confidently say, we have a family that provides for, family, parents, care for us, love us, and help us to discover God in our life. And therefore, isn't it a wonderful gift that we have received? How can we then better use this gift for the good of the people and for the glory of God? The gift first landed, placed in our mother's womb. Each one of us spent some time in our mother's womb. And when we were in mother's womb, we are totally cared for. The giver of this gift was constantly with us, looking after us, journeying with us every moment of our development in our mother's womb. And in doing so, he confidently gave our parents the necessary support so that mother can go through the full term and eventually bring us to this world and introduce to the family and relatives and all the rest. Remember, we were naked in our mother's womb. We were born naked. But unfortunately or fortunately, that we tend to be dressed up after our birth, and we continue to be dressed up in different ways, branded clothing, whatever you want to say it. We are constantly dressed up, and dressed up. And we try to put on an exterior that seems to be more important than the precious gift of ourselves. Let us pause for a moment and how in our family we give so much importance to house decorations, house renovation, renewing our house, maybe buying a bigger house, better house, getting a better TV set, and so on and so on. Doing so, sometimes we forget the essential, the person who make up our family. Every member who is a gift to the family, who bring a lot of love, warmth to the family. But somehow we do not give enough importance, I think. Therefore, as time goes on, we become sometimes strangers in our own family. So strangers that we will be using the modern technology to connect with all kind of people outside, but not well connected within our family. And in this process, when things are going on, this virus, COVID-19, came very timely to remind us, go back to your home. Go back to where you come from. Go to a place where God chose for you, the family. In that family, you discover me. I am with you. Let us together start life together, begin again, and recognize the purpose of our presence in this world. Why God has chosen to be part of that one family. In that family, parents, as I said earlier, you did not choose, I did not choose my parents, but God chose for us. Whatever we can say and do, nothing like our parents. They've done their part, and they're continuing to do their part, and therefore, how can we, in our own little way, recognize that, acknowledge this is where I belong. This is where my God wants me to have a fuller life. And having fuller life and receiving all that God gives me, which is free of charge. By every breath, every day of my life is free of charge. Why did God give me all this free of charge? He did not put a long list of expectations from me. We are not earning this by doing something great, but God continues to give in freedom these gifts, and how are we receiving them? Because well-received person will begin to appreciate it. The well-received person will give importance to the very life of the person, me. Not so much what I'm becoming in terms of what other people expect of me. And therefore, let's take a moment and see how I have shaped myself to suit the surrounding, how I shaped myself to please my friends, how I choose myself to shape myself to please my parents. Let us, for a moment, stop and check that. Are we here to recognize God in our life, the giver of this precious gift of myself, my life? How am I connecting with this person, the giver of gifts? Because when we give a gift to someone, we take a lot of trouble, sometimes choosing it, and sometimes if you are an artistic person, we may want to do something, a master art piece, and then we present to that person. A lot of trouble is taken in preparing a gift for someone. And therefore, that gift is not just a tangible, visible thing, but that gift also contains the giver. The giver is very much connected with that gift, and therefore, every time we are able to appreciate that gift, we are appreciating the person who gave the gift. And therefore, let's, for a moment, look at ourselves. Though we look at ourselves as just a gift, but this is a gift which is a packaged gift. A package. When you open the package, you discover there are other multitudes of gifts within. In discovering this multitude of gifts within us, then we will be surprised by ourselves, this discovery that I am a multi-talented person. I have so many other talents which I have not developed. When I develop these talents, since God is the one of initially placed in my life, I'm going to develop that, and I'm not going to use the talent, whatever gift that I develop, not for myself, but God gave it so that it can be useful to others. So then, COVID-19 reminds us, so far you may have lived a life just for the purpose of certain people or certain way of living, But today, God is inviting us to say, go back to your family, develop your talents, use it to your own family to bring joy and happiness and comfort and all kind of communion with one another. Having experienced and rebuilt this, your family, now together as a family, reach out to the other families who are also affected by COVID-19. And I think when we do that, we recognize that Jesus, whom we received in our baptism, and in baptism, John the Baptist will say, from the moment you have accepted Christ, Christ must increase in you. If Christ continues to increase in each one of us, then we'll see that people will recognize us. This person has something different that I don't know what. And I think that is nothing but the capacity to love, capacity to care, capacity to become compassionate, capacity to be a person of forgiving. Therefore, in our own little way, as we continue to prepare for the feast day, trying to recognize I have a place in the Sacred Heart of Jesus, meaning the heart of Jesus, no one is excluded. Everyone has a place. If everyone has a place, no one has to do something extraordinary to please Jesus to be able to find a place. Let us then, in our own little way, acknowledge this. God invites me today to care for myself. One who cares for oneself, loves himself, could now love the other. Those of you who have taken flying from one destination to the other, you will discover when the hostess give us safety briefing, they will say, in case there is pressure change in the aircraft, then oxygen mask will drop. You take and administer to yourself first, then to your children or elderly person with whom you are traveling. It's like that. During this period when God has given us this opportunity to be home, being home, discovering your full self. I have discovered myself. Who am I? Have I discovered the various giftedness that I have, and what am I doing about it? Have I specifically decided that during this certain period I will develop these talents, and having developed this talent, I am going to, together with other family members, to make my family a happy place to live in. A place where others looking at will say, wow, they are different. They care for one another. They love one another. And therefore, you become a sign for others to follow. Others can imitate you. Others can also become one with you, in communion with you. Now they can also help people who have not discovered themselves. In discovering oneself, the capacity to grow in itself will help us to heal ourselves. We all, for some reason or other, as I said, we lived so much for the expectation of others. We lived to please somebody else. We did something to what the money can offer us. And in this process, we underestimate ourselves. We hurt ourselves. And in this process, we also hurt someone else. So as we continue to prepare for the feast, become aware of this reality, that our relationship with one person or the other can be sometimes disrupted due to reasons of I did not discover who I am. In the process of not discovering who I am, I've not discovered God who, in the first place, chose me to be in this family and in this world, in this part of history. So then, continue to reflect, continue to acknowledge Gift is something is given, and this gift have to be received, and in receiving, discover the giver's intention, why that person has chosen to give this gift to you. Why is it so that he has taken so much trouble specifically to give this gift to you at an appropriate time? And acknowledge that, the giver. And I think in our life, among various persons who give things, from our parents to maybe our teachers or maybe our friends or whoever it is, but no one can outdo what God has done to us. What is God continuing to give? So in this context, let us ask ourselves, what is my contribution, especially during this COVID-19 isolation? We were isolated, we kept some distance from one another, only to get close and closer to God. But if we kept distance from other people, and we did not get close to God, then something we all missed. The opportunity that came our way, we have not fully made use of. So as you know, COVID can be a friend. COVID can be a completely invader. Meaning, if it's your friend, you determine what distance you want to keep with your friend. So by keeping certain distance, the friend cannot altogether overpower you, take control of your life. But if you treat the COVID as an invader, you don't know how the invader going to overpower you. So then, fine-tune for yourself. Are you simply saying COVID is an enemy, and COVID being an enemy, I want to hide from it, and that does not mean you are safe. We clearly look at COVID as either a friend has come passing by, a guest who is passing by. Unless you welcome that person into your life, no bother, no problem. And you look at all the measures that we take during the COVID-19, hygiene, cleanliness, keep distance. So meaning to say, you take charge of your life. You take charge of your life. Don't blame anybody. Take charge of your life, and the God, giver of gift, and the gift of the family will become a shrine for each one of us to find God. And when we find God, everything else goes well. When we do not find God, and we are finding so many other things to replace God Himself, and today I think if you turn your smartphone on, there are so many apps available to us, and we can just download them, and we are downloaded or bombarded with so much information. And what are the information that we are choosing? What are the informations we are saying, well, this is from God. God, the giver of gifts, now through this technology is giving to me. Or am I able to say, no, this is not God's wish that I should be spending so much time looking at this YouTube program or that YouTube program. I need to ask God to keep me company so that with Him in a family, I can be the person that God wants me to be. In a family, who is superior, who is inferior, who is greater, who is nobody. I think at this moment of life, let's look at the family as all are complementary members. Nobody is less, nobody is more important. Even parents, you have a significant role in your children's life, especially mothers. You had the opportunity to nurture your child in your womb. From that very moment, that By doing your share, God was pleased. God used you to shape your child in your womb and later in the early life of the child growing up. But today, as more and more both parents are working, sometimes there is certain lack of time, we call it, but all the same, we, by taking this moment of COVID seriously and try to put in place things that we did not consider important, things that we did not consider important for our daily family life. Therefore, that at this moment, we will begin to do something different from what we have been doing all this while. We are so used to a certain way of doing, giving importance to a certain way of doing things, but today we will say how those choices in my life been helpful and what are the choices in my life has not been helpful, so we will rethink. We rethink and see whether all the gifts within the larger gift, I have opened it, discovered it, and making good use of it. If not, let us make a decision to say during this preparation period for the feast day that we'll discover who I am, we'll discover who is my parents are, I'll discover who are my brothers and sisters, and I will begin to love them to the point that your very home becomes so wonderful place to live. No other place can be better than your own home. With that, I wish you all the best for this preparation period, and let us on Friday celebrate the feast in a very meaningful way in our own comfort zone, our own homes. Though we are not able to gather together as a parishioners, we will still praise and thank God for the gift of the family, gift of our parents, and gift of our own life itself. Thank you. Amen.